Today, we're talking about fishing reel drags. We're going to go over the basics all the way through some more advanced techniques. Coming up. What's going on, tackle junkies? It's Juno Ryan coming at you with another video. In today's video, we're going to be going over fishing reel drags. Now, when a fisherman is looking to buy a new reel, there's all these drag numbers advertised, these reel capabilities, and it can be a little bit confusing to the average angler. Well, in today's video, we're going to clear up some of that basic information, as well as go over some techniques that may lead you all out there to catching that once in a lifetime fish. Drags are, you know what? I think we need some. Good. I love coffee. Anyways, so where were we? Fishing reel drag is essentially friction plates inside of a fishing reel. When a fish pulls on the line, overcoming that friction, it'll allow the spool on the reel to spin backwards, preventing the fishing line from breaking. Now, this is present in all sorts of fishing reels. So we have it in a spinning reel. Right now I'm pulling the drag, and a bait caster, if it would focus. We have drag and a lever drag conventional reel. To tighten the drag on the spinning reel, it is just righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. That's pretty much it. With a star drag, like you have on bait casters, to tighten your drag, you just push the drag star away from you. If you want to loosen, you just bring it towards you. With lever drags, you have preset. So you only use this preset when it is all the way in free spool. Otherwise, you will just completely jack up your drag system. So I'm going to preset it while it's in free spool. And then I have this entire range. The drag is engaged now, all the way up to full. So you have below strike, all the way up to full for a nice range of drag settings that you can make micro adjustments with over time. So you set your drag based on the strength of the line that you're using. Now this needs to include not only the tension from the reel, but also the additional tension provided by the line running through your guide. So you want to test your drag from your rod tip and not just coming out of your reel. A good starting place for you to set your drag at is around 20 to 30% of the line's actual strength. Now, you all are probably thinking, that seems kind of light. If I'm fishing 10-pound tests, shouldn't I really be able to put, 8-9 pounds of pressure on the fish? Well, we're going to get into that a little bit later in the video, but overall a good starting point is that 20 to 30%. This 20 to 30% obviously varies, is situationally dependent, and also you will learn what you can get away with over time. It just comes with experience and time on the water. I want you guys to use that as kind of a starting point if you have no idea how tight or loose your drag should be though. The maximum drag that you'll see advertised by many reel manufacturers is the maximum amount of friction that the reel will provide to the spool so that the line comes off smoothly. We can push the reel past its maximum drag points, but what will happen is the reel will get extremely sticky, and this drag is not a recipe for catching fish. That's going to pull your hooks, it's going to cause your line to break, screw up your terminal tackle. So that maximum drag is where the reel's going to perform with a smooth drag. Now if you're in a situation where you're fishing something like a sailfish tournament, where you need to put the maximum amount of pressure on a fish while additionally using a very light line, or let's say you're someone chasing a line class world record, you should probably be testing your drag with a scale pretty much before every application. Now, if you're more of just a recreational guy, just out for the weekend, and you've been doing it for a little bit, you probably will get away with just testing your drag by feel. Me personally, I usually just test my drag by feel. I will be using 30-pound braid for such application, and I will grab it, feel it, think to myself that feels about right. It's something that you will really just have to learn on your own, what is too much pressure and what is not enough pressure.
There's plenty of great how-tos on YouTube especially that get into the real nitty-gritty details of this that I'm not going to cover in today's video. For instance, on your lever drags, there are guys that will essentially take a magic marker and mark, this is 2 pounds of drag, this is 3 pounds of drag, this is 8 pounds of drag, and they know exactly where they are going. So there are plenty of great tips and tricks just like that out there. So do a little bit more research if you're super interested in this topic. For most newbie anglers that are really setting their drags for the first time and are fairly unsure of how much tension they can actually put on their line, I recommend using a scale or a way of measuring your drag that is objective and then leaving your drag there. Do not touch your drag once you are fighting a fish. 95% of the time you're going to be a-okay, and that is going to put you in the best situation to catch fish. Now we'll get into the title of today's video. When a fish takes a long run, we're talking 100, 200, 300 yards of line. More of your line is in the water. Now more of that line is being drugged through the water by the fish. So more resistance, not just the resistance from your reel, is being added to the fish. That additional water resistance is also putting a strain on your line, so that original 20 to 30% that you had just coming out of your reel and rod is now compounded the more and more line that is being drugged through the water. So you understand what I was talking about earlier, how that 20 to 30% is really not a bad thing. The further the fish is out from you, the more pressure he's applying to himself by having more line being drugged through the water. This is why when you have a fairly new angler have a fish take a really long run and they panic and tighten the drag, more often than not they're going to lose that fish. It's going to break the line.
Getting spooled, dude. Gotta tighten up. Oh, bummer.
Because they have the extra tension that they just applied and all that line in the water is being drugged through. The line is just pushed to its breaking point faster than they expect. It's not a recipe for success. Depending on if the reel has a lot of line, 500, 600, 700 yards on it, you could even loosen the drag because you just have that much more buffer room. It's okay that the fish is taking line. Don't worry about it. That's actually the situation you want to be in. You want him to be pulling line out, tiring himself out. It's okay. I've been in those situations where you are severely undergunned, the rod and reel you have is way too small for the fish you have on the other end of the line, and you have 10 wraps of line left on your spool before all of your line's gone and you're breaking off. That is not what we're talking about here. Let me say it again. That is not what we're talking about here. I'm talking about when you still have 2/3 to 1/3 of your spool left, but an inexperienced angler is a little uncomfortable with these long runs. They're nervous, they're so afraid that the fish is gonna get away because it's just taking these long runs that they tighten up just prematurely. We're not talking about tightening up with 10 wraps left, guys. I guess I could have titled this video, if a fish is taking a longer run than you're used to and you're inexperienced, don't tighten your drag. That doesn't have the same ring to it though, does it? If you're on a boat, you should do your best to either drive yourself or have the driver of the boat get on top of the fish, get as close to the fish as you can, not tighten your drag. Really, getting close to that fish is gonna put you in a better situation to catch it anyways. For all my land-based guys out there, trust me, I know it's tough. You gotta put yourself in the best situation where you can get as close to the fish as possible before you get spooled. Sometimes getting spooled is just inevitable. But we can, as anglers, push our tackle to the limits and put ourselves in the best situation to land that fish for a lifetime. If you have some more experience, you can definitely optimize and speed up your catch of a fish by making adjustments of your drag throughout the fight. I do it all the time. There's actually plenty of situations where I'll tighten up and loosen up based on what the fish is doing, if it's headed for structure, if it's headed away from structure. It's really situationally dependent, and that will come with time on the water. There is no other way to learn it other than getting out there and just fishing and learning from your mistakes. Some random tidbits of information now related to fishing reel drags. If you're at the end of a long fight with some suspect terminal tackle, let's say you're fishing a really small hook, your swivel is super old, your leader is fairly light, and the fish is getting close to the boat, it's not a bad idea to loosen up your drag. Now, this is because when the fish is getting closer to the boat, they're gonna tend to be doing crazy head shakes, faster maneuvers, less of a long steady run, and more of a shock producing last minute freak out. So your terminal tackle and everything is going to be at its weakest point then. So loosening up your drag to give you a little bit more wiggle room isn't necessarily a bad idea at the end of a long fight. Now I'll tell you guys a fish story. Probably the situation where I've adjusted my drag the most was when I was commercial kingfishing. So we had this day where we were just losing kingfish left and right to sharks. I was fishing them with loose drag, eaten by a shark. Fishing really tight drag, eaten by a shark. Moderate, eaten by a shark. We were frustrated, we didn't know what to do. We were getting king bites immediately, but the sharks were eating them as soon as we could hook them. So I decided, okay, what can we do here? So I would hook the kingfish with a moderate drag, loosen up immediately. Let it take that first run as fast as it could, and hopefully it would swim faster than the shark. Let it get to the end of that first run, and then I cranked the drag as tight as it could, or as tight as I could, and just cranked like I have never cranked before to get the kingfish back to the boat, hopefully swimming towards me. And it started working. So it was a moderate drag to set the hook, a loose drag for their first run, and then very tight and fighting it like I was just on some type of drugs. It started working, we started catching kingfish. So that's just one situation where it worked, and I understand that it's purely anecdotal, but I thought you guys might like that little fish story there, in a situation that really, playing with my drag led to me landing some fish that day and helping me to get them away from some sharks. I want to thank you all that have made it this far into the video. If you have made it this far, go to the comment section and comment below a random fish story. My favorite one, I'm going to pin to the top of the comment section. Y'all, it has been an absolute pleasure. Please thumbs up the video if you like it. It really helps me gauge what you guys like on this channel and what you don't like. And I can't thank you all enough for how much support you've been giving me and how much support you continue to give me in the channel. Y'all, that is all the time I have. I love you all, you beautiful people. Remember, life is dope.